What's up, guys? Welcome to Dubs. I'm Dub. This is Luna, my counterpart. Alright, purpose of this channel is we're just going to kind of give you all the insights you need to know about the games coming up, give you all the facts, and we'll make our predictions, but at the end of the day, you make your predictions. Our goal is just to kind of tell you what's going to happen, so let's do it. Alright, first up, we got Vandy at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a minus 10-point favorite, over-unders 56. Alright. A couple things about Wake Forest. I mean, they were 5-2 at home last year. They were pretty good. They beat Florida State away, 31-21. They beat Vandy away, 45-25 last year. They allowed 28.5 points per game, so defense isn't fantastic. They had a pretty good game against Elon, 17-37, week 1. I mean, it's Elon, whatever. But Elon did go 8-4 last year, so they're not terrible. And they put up 31 points away at Vandy last year, so they obviously have a pretty good offense, right? Now, they're doing that without Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman went to Notre Dame, looking really good over Notre Dame, but we're not talking about him yet, all right? Mitch Griffs ended up taking over. He went 19 for 30, 329, and 3 touchdowns. So, pretty good. He did have an interception, though. I wouldn't call it impressive. Like I said, Elon's defense isn't phenomenal, but neither is Vandy's, right? Vandy now, on the other hand, they finished 5-7 overall last year. They went 3-3 away, so they actually won more away games than home games last year, which is not very often. They allowed 29.5 points per game back in 2022, excluding those 3 ass whoopings they had from Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia. Those poor bastards. It was like 55-0 in all 3 of them. They did beat Hawaii week 0, 35-28, and they beat Alabama A&M 47-13 in week 1. Alabama finished 4-7 last year. 7 years impressive, right? I know. Terrible. I know. I mean, Swan's okay at QB, right? He's okay, but I wouldn't call him impressive. He has like a 50% completion percentage over these first 2 games. They did score 35 and 47 in the first 2 games, so they do have an offense. I know, it's actually a lot, right? I'm proud. At the end of the day, I like the over, right? I think both teams are going to score a lot, both high-powered offenses. I think Wake Forest will cover the 10-point spread. It's at home, and it's a very bad Vandy defense, right? I'm going to go with final score 38-27 Wake Forest. I'd be comfortable betting Mitch Griffis to throw for 250 plus, but I wouldn't put in my guarantees. All right, safe bet I'm going to go with Wake Forest minus 2.5, over 50.5 total points. That's minus 125. And my fun money bet is going to be Wake Forest minus 9.5, over 60.5 total points. Put it in the bank. Next up, we got Nebraska in Colorado. I'm excited. I'm riding the prime train, but let's start with Nebraska, huh? Nebraska finished 4-8 overall last year, 2-2 away. Most impressive win was beating Iowa, 24-17. I'm not huge fans of them. They started the year losing 10-13 in Minnesota. Granted, that being said, Minnesota does have a pretty good defense, right? Most of their games are pretty low scoring. Jeff Sims, quarterback for Nebraska, threw 3 picks, though. Only pass for 114 yards, went 11 for 19. Not super impressive. Now, they did rush for 180 yards, right? Sims rushed for 91 of that. I'd say they're only hoping this game's to beat the Buffaloes up front, which... You good, bro? All right. Which the Buffaloes didn't do a great job of stopping the run whenever they played TCU, right? Bad news for Nebraska is they allowed the quarterback for the Gophers to throw for 196 yards, more than he threw in all but 1 game in 2022. So that shows the QB set a passing record for his first game, and Colorado's probably going to have a good game, right? But we'll see, right? Now for Coach Prime, my man. Man, has always had high-powered offenses. This year is no different, all right? Buffaloes, I mean, Shader put up video game numbers in week 1, right? 510 yards. I know, it's crazy, right? 510 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he was incredible. Granted, TCU allowed 25 points a game last year on their title run. And I don't think this team's anywhere near that. So, Nebraska's defense is a little more stout. So it's going to be tough for, that Buffalo team to be able to move the ball on them as well as they did before, I believe. They only had 90 yards rushing against the Horned Frogs. So they're going to have to do pass heavy if they're going to beat this run heavy offense for Nebraska, right? Let's see. They're also going to have to find a way to stop the run. They allowed 262 rushing yards for the Horned Frogs and 280 yards passing, so they gave up a ton of offense. I don't think they have to worry about the passing too much. Sims isn't a great quarterback, but they're gonna have to worry about the run. I mean, they put up great rushing numbers. They did come up with 2 interceptions as a silver lining, right? They did intercept TCU twice for defense. They gave up 540 yards. At least they had some good come from it, right? But I expect if Coach Prime is going to stop the run, he's got to load the box up. He's got to put 8 people in the box, sit down, force him to a third down, and give him the pass. That's how he's going to have to beat him. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. Everyone is talking about this being one of the traps of the year, right? But I think Colorado's going to cover the spread. I mean, they were plus 20-point underdogs against TCU, came back and beat them away. Now they're home. They have a very bad Nebraska team coming in. I think Matt Rhule's a great coach. I think he's doing great things for them, but they're just not there yet. They're not. And Coach Prime's, he's primed. He's ready. So I'm going to pick for him to cover. I never bet -3 though. I do -2.5. I think Nebraska's probably going to rush for 250 yards. They're going to have a great defensive game. They'll probably end up trying to run the clock down towards the end of the game, so that could lead to this being a pretty low-scoring game. But my pick for it is 35-27, Colorado. Take that to the bank and cash it. But now the bets I like are Colorado -2.5. I really like Sims over 50 rushing yards. I feel like he's going to have a good day rushing, not passing. I'll put Shadir Sanders over 300 if that happens. There's no player props out yet, right? But if they do, that's what I'm going with. So my safe bet, I'm going to go Colorado plus 3.5. So if they do lose, I believe it will just be by a field goal as time expires, something like that. I bet the under 69. With both of those, it ends up being -110. Now for the fun money bet, if you want to go big, I'd go Colorado -6.5. And I'd bet the under 62.5. And that equals plus 270. All right, next up, we got Utah, -7.5 favorite at Baylor. Over under is 47. Yeah, you need some? All right, man, the Pac-12 is on a mission this year, and I love it. I'm here for it. Utah is one of those exciting ones, very powerhouse offense. It's still unclear right now if Rising's going to start, but all the sources I've read say that he's probably going to play, which is very exciting. But either way, the team's good. I think they're a great offense. They beat Florida by 13 week 1 while losing the total yards battle. They still ended up winning. Florida put up 346. They put up 270. It was a tough week 1. They found a way to win against a tough Florida team. They have to play better defense if they're going to beat a high-power offensive team, which I believe Baylor is a little more offensive than defensive. Graham Mertz threw for 333 passing yards. That's a lot. They did hold him to only 1 touchdown, though. So that means they held him to third downs. They couldn't convert on third downs. They only had 13 rushing yards, and they held him to 1 for 13 third down conversions. So that is pretty bad. They have grit, which goes a long way in those close games. Now, Baylor lost to Texas State at home, week 1. What? Yeah, I actually didn't realize this until I started researching that TJ Finley's their quarterback now. That's crazy. For those who don't know, TJ actually played for LSU, then transferred to Auburn, and now he's over at Texas State apparently. So, looks like, Texas State obviously has never been good, but they actually have a decent-ish quarterback this year. They allowed 441 yards of offense, 300 of it being passing, and they had 416 passing yards, 300 of it being from their QB. And then 100 yards on top of that, right? Big news, though. Blake Shapen is out, quarterback for Baylor. He ended up having an MCL injury in the 4th quarter, so he is out 2 to 3 weeks. They had Sawyer Robertson come in, take over, and was 6 for 12 for 113 with a fumble and interception in his 2 drives, so not very good. So who wins? This one is tough. I think without Rising, it's hard for me to be confident that Utah covers the spread. I still think they win, but for them to cover that 7.5 point spread, it could be closer, right? With Blake Shapen out, I don't believe Baylor has a chance in hell. So they're going to have to run the ball, and Utah has a great run defense. So I'm going to go with my final score at 35-10. That's against what a lot of people are betting. They're betting a lot closer, but that puts Utah covering. But I'm much more confident taking them straight up just in case. Instead of betting the under, I'd probably lean more towards betting like Utah money line and Utah over 27, something like that. Both of those ends up being about 170. If you're feeling froggy, hey, go ahead and do Utah covering and over 34.5 plus 280. If Cam Rising ends up playing though, I'd be comfortable just betting heavy on Utah, man. Go freaking Utes, right? Yeah, safe bet. Going Utah minus 5.5. Baylor under 28. That's minus 140. And if you want to do a fun money bet, Utah minus 16.5. Utah over 35 total points. And that is plus 370. All right, next up, we got Troy versus Kansas State. You ready for this? Oof. So first we got Troy, right? Troy, I have a special hate in my heart for this team. They went 12-2 last year. They actually ended the year ranked, so on paper they're not a terrible team, right? However, their 2 losses came from their toughest 2 games last season, which was unranked Ole Miss and App State. I know, garbage, right? They averaged about 25 points a game. Their opponents... You good, bro? They averaged 25 points a game last year, while their opponents averaged 16.5. They started out the year ranked 42 nationally this year. They do got the quarterback, and the biggest news is their star running back, Kamani Vidal. This guy is a stud. And they also got a slew of other defensive All-Americans, or not All-Americans, sorry, Sun Belt Defensive All-Conference. Let's not get carried away. Players. And like I said, they look good. I mean, they even started strong. They beat SFA 30-48. Vidal rushed for 250, 9.5 yards a carry, 9.9. The guy can run. I mean, the guy can run. He had 1,100 yards rushing last year. I mean, that's who they're going to base their game plan off of, right? You don't like that? That's what they're going to do. I'm sorry. If whether you like it or not, he's going to run the ball. Yeah, they ended with 540 yards of offense in the game. SFA put up 30 points on 240 yards offense due to Troy throwing 3 interceptions and losing a fumble. So long story short, they're ranked last year. They're returning a ton of weaponry. They're not going to be a pushover, right? They never are. Kansas State, on the other hand, ended last year being Big 12 champions and not even getting a chance to play in the playoffs. TCU did. That sucks, right? So they returned their quarterback, Will Howard. They got DJ Giddens trying to pick up where Deuce Vaughn left off. You know, they got their whole O-line back. It's RJ Garcia's time to shine a receiver. They got all the weapons, right? They got their whole front back. Now, they lost most of their secondary. It was very relevant in their game against SCMO. They gave up 227 on offense, 220 of it being passing. That being said, they held them to 6 rushing yards. So the Russian defense is good. 6 yards rushing, that's pretty good, right? Run defense is the moneymaker. Will Howard looked good. He went 18 for 26, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns before they took him out. And DJ ran for 128 on 15 carries. But it is SEMO, right? Like, let's be real. Game's gonna obviously come down to if they can stop Vidal, right? I mean, I was worried about it because the dude is a stud. I looked up their stats last year, K-State's stats on defense last year against the run. They allowed 4.5 yards a carry and 150 yards per game. I don't like that. They did hold SEMO to 6, but I don't know if they're gonna be able to stop him. I hope they will. I mean, I know Troy doesn't have the defense to stop K-State. They're just too high powered. They got all their offense back. So I'm leaning towards a mid-scoring level game. I believe Troy manages the game really well by running the ball a lot and them not being able to stop the dog. But I do believe K-State ends up covering the spread and going over. My pick is K-State 31, Troy 21. That puts them just hitting the over. Troy covering the spread. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a closer game though. I probably won't bet the spread or the over this game, to be honest. But some bets I do like. I like K-State money line, K-State over 24, and Troy over 10. That's minus 180. I would definitely also bet whatever prop the doll is. I mean, he's going to hit it. He's going to go 100 yards plus. If you want some fun money bet on it, I'd go K-State minus 9.5 and under 55.5, which is plus 35. Or you can just bet Troy to cover, plus 14.5 for minus 110. What you got on your face? I mean, that stuff everywhere. All right, next up we got Notre Dame, who's minus 7.5 favorite at NC State. Over under is 51 points. Remember how I mentioned Sam Hartman earlier? Yeah, the guy's good. I mean, he's sitting at an 82% completion percentage through the first 2 games. He's got Audric Estime running the shit out of it. balance things out. Offense is looking great. Defense has done their job. They've held both teams to about 150 yards of total offense. Do I believe they're playoff bound? No, I don't. But they are looking good thus far. They can prove me wrong. Granted, they haven't played anyone. Away at NC State's going to be their first, okay test. So, we'll see. Now, NC State, I like them. I like them. Mainly because I bet them minus 9.5 against UConn, and they delivered, right? But I wasn't super impressed with the quarterback, Brennan Armstrong. He passed 17 for 26, 155 yards. He didn't throw a pick, which is pretty good, right? O-line's real strong. They had 209 yards rushing. It was a running back committee. Defense held UConn to 14 points, 273 yards of offense. They looked okay. Right? It was an away game, which was impressive, but they're going to need to be better than okay against Notre Dame. They did hold UConn to 113 passing yards, and they got an interception, but they allowed 160 rushing yards to Victor Rosa. Dude's a good running back. I watched the game. He was really good, but I don't believe he's the same caliber as Audric Estime. Now, NC State was 6-1 at home last year, and the only loss from that coming from a 20-21 loss to Boston College. What? Yep, you heard that. They beat Florida State, and more importantly, they beat Wake Forest at home. Who, you guess it, Sam Hartman was playing for, right? Sam passed for 397 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he threw 3 interceptions. So, man, this game is going to be juicy. The spread's minus 7.5. I'm just going to go ahead and say never bet that. Just bet the alternate spread for 6.5, and then just add something else to make it juicier, right? No one wins by 8 points. With that being said, my bet is 17-27 Notre Dame. I think they go into NC State, and I think they take care of business, and Sam Hartman gets his revenge. He's throwing for 500. No, I'm just kidding. He's not going to do that. But he's going to have a good game. He might. You never know. NC State's going to have success running the ball. But when they get to 3rd and long, I just don't think they're going to be able to convert. Sam Hartman's looking great. He has a good O-line blocking for him, way better than he had over at Wake Forest. So I think he'll have success against a stingy NC State D. Safe bet, I'm going to go Notre Dame minus 2.5. Yep, Notre Dame minus 2.5. Notre Dame over 23.5, which is minus 175. Fun money bet would be Notre Dame minus 9.5 over 27 points. NC State under 2.5 touchdowns and under 51.5 points for plus 390. I'd also bet Sam Hartman to have a 250 plus yard game, and I wouldn't be scared to give Audric Estime 80 plus. The dude's good. All right, next up we got Ole Miss as a minus 7.5 favorite at Tulane. Over under is 67 points. Whew, look at that over. That's a lot. Ole Miss started the season. They were being assholes to Mercer, 73-6. Dickheads. At least they let them score once, but it's Mercer. They've been the SEC's punching bag for years, right? Ole Miss started off hot last year before they lost 5 out of their last 6. So I imagine they needed that to kind of boost their confidence a little bit. They got Quinshon Judkins, right? Obviously, top 5 running back in the league right now. They got Jackson Dart under center. He looked decent, right? He went 18 for 23, 333 yards. Judkins only carried the ball 13 times for 60 yards, which was kind of surprising to me. Thought he'd have a little more, but they got mainly the front line almost all back. And on D, they lost a bunch of guys in the secondary, but they got their front back on D too. So they seem to handle Mercer pretty well, besides that 75-yard touchdown run, but Tulane is a little bit better than Mercer, right? On the other side, we got Tulane. The Louisianian in me is so proud to see Tulane in the top 25. After the other Louisiana team, we're not going to mention them, got demolished last week. These guys are our only hopes. So all they got to do is do it all without Tyjae Spears, right? Luckily, Michael Pratt's back, and he's got most of his linemen with him. He went 14 for 15 for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns in the opener against South Alabama, where they were only 7-point favorites. It's looking like the pass attack's what they're going to do moving forward, since they're running backs. They're just not Tyjae Spears anymore, right? What's on your face? I had to put Luna down. She was getting a little tired. But anyway, let's roll. So back to Tyjae. He's gone. Obviously, he's in the NFL. That's okay. They're going to be more passers nowadays. They had 2 receivers last time at the 100-yard mark. And running backs did manage to get 142 yards between the 3 of them. So it's not too bad. They had 3 fumbles. Got to have to work on that, clean that up. But besides those mishaps, I mean, they held South Alabama to 265 yards offense, so that's not too bad. This one is going to be a shootout. I understand why the over's so high. I get it. Honestly, I don't feel comfortable to pick a winner in this one. However, if I had to pick a line, I do like Tulane plus 7.5 at home. They beat K-State and USC last year. They made it to the top 10 nationally. You know, and their two last year's losses were under 7.5. So I'm going to bet on them to continue the streak, you know. Safe bet, I'm going to go over 56.5 total points. Tulane plus 17.5. You can get that at minus 130, which is ridiculous in my opinion. If you want to do a fun money bet, we'll do Tulane plus 7.5 and over 60.5. And that'll give you plus 175. If you want to go a little higher on the over, go for it. Do you, boo-boo. Because I'm going to do me. So next up, we got Texas State at UTSA. UTSA is a minus 13.5 point favorite. Over under is 66. I talked about Texas State earlier, right? I don't believe they're a good team, but I don't believe they're respecting the offense enough, right? I think TJ Finley is a decent quarterback. He threw for 300 yards last game. The running backs rushed for another 150. They have a decent offense. The defense is just non-existent, basically, right? On the flip side of that, we got UTSA. They had 417 yards of offense against Houston, again, who has no defense, and they only came away with 14 points out of that. I don't expect them to be that unlucky again, right, against Texas State, but I don't expect them to stop them either when they gave up over 300 yards to Houston, right? I like Texas State, plus 13.5, over 66. Moving on. We got Iowa minus 3.5 at Iowa State. Over under is 36. This is your friendly reminder to bet the under. Okay, I know it's 36 points. It's crazy to bet the under that. But last year the score was 10-7. Okay, Iowa State won, and 7 other games from Iowa last year have hit the under. Okay, they had to work real hard to put up 24 on Utah State last game. And Iowa State worked real hard to put up 30 on Northern Iowa. You can bet Iowa State to cover too, if you're feeling froggy. Next up, we got Tulsa v. Washington. They are at Washington. Washington is a 34.5 point favorite, over under 65.5. I was looking it up. Tulsa's actually pretty tough to play against. They're not a good team. They never win, but they always put up a fight, besides the 30-point loss to Navy last year. They lost to Ole Miss away by 8. They lost to Cincinnati by 10. They lost to Tulane by 14. That makes it hard to believe that a team is going to beat them by 35, right? But with that being said, I love Washington. I love them. I watched them against Boise State, and they look fucking good, all right? Now, do I think Boise State's that good? No, I don't. But I do believe they're better than Tulsa, and Washington beat Boise State by 37. They do give up a lot on defense, right? But they make plays, and I like playmakers. Boise State had 400 yards of offense, but they went 6 for 17 on third downs, and they threw 2 picks. And on the offensive side of the ball, Michael Penix is a freaking stud. I don't know if he's going to win the Heisman, but he's my number 1 right now. He's good. He threw 29 for 40, 450 yards, 5 TDs. Those are great numbers. I don't know if he'll have a player prop this week, but if he does, take it. I'd be careful betting the spread. You know, I think it's okay to throw it in like 1 or 2 of your parlays, but don't overload it. I don't consider it a guarantee, but I would put a guarantee on Penix going for 300 yards, 3 TDs. I mean, dude, the dude's good. Next, we got SMU at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's minus 16 favorites, over under 68.5. Just looking at it, I mean, SMU is pass heavy. They're a high scoring offense, so is Oklahoma. Initial thoughts is to bet the over, right? I mean, I'm not incredibly excited about this matchup, but it's hard to think Oklahoma's going to cover the spread since they haven't had a defense in years. I mean, non-existent. I'll go SMU covering with the over hitting. Final score 45-35, Oklahoma. Now for one of the good ones. All right. I am excited for this one. I'm usually not hyped up for Bama games, but after what Texas did to them last year by not letting them bring their band basically because they were going to put them in the nosebleeds, and now Bama's reciprocating that. I mean, there's some bad blood between these guys. It's going to be insane. Looking at Texas, I mean, they returned basically their whole offense besides Bijan, right? They have a ton of experience. They're most likely going to win the Big 12. I mean, They look good. They took care of Rice. Yeah, it's Rice, but I mean, they didn't have Bijan on the backfield, and they didn't miss it. They were kicking butt. Ewers is looking good. I mean, he had 19 for 30, 300 yards, no turnovers. They did a running back committee. It was successful. Decent defense kept them to 175 yards total, only 27 rushing yards. I mean, they look good on paper. Look great. Now Bama, they had one of their worst seasons last year under Nick Saban. They lost 2 games. 2 games. And that's a bad season. It's crazy. But they lost Will Anderson on defense. They lost Bryce Young. You know, he's in the NFL now. They got Kool-Aid back on defense, though. They got Jalen Monroe under center right now. He did what he needed last game. Didn't look spectacular through the air, but I don't think their passing game is really going to be that spectacular this year. I think they're going to be really good running, and they're going to be hard to stop up front. On paper, I mean, Texas looks better, right? They're returning 15 starters. Yours looks good. I mean, Texas probably has the best team they've had since Vince Young. They look good. Bad news for them is Texas went 2-2 last year on the road. They lost to Oklahoma and Texas Tech, while Alabama only has 1 loss at home in the last 5 years. Who beat them again? Go Tigers. I think Texas will play a good game, but Alabama runs away with it in the second. I'm going 21-31 Bama. If you're going to bet the spread, bet the alternative, either -6.5 or, you know, you can bet 9.5 if you want to go froggy. But I'd bet the under. The alternate under is 59.5. It's at -190. So that'll cover most scenarios. I don't believe Texas is going to put up more than 24 on Bama at home when they couldn't score 20 at home last year, right? My safe bet's going to be Alabama -6.5, under 60. That's +170. And my fun money bet's going to be Alabama -9.5, under 52.5 total, for +340. Next, we got Oregon, who's a -6 favorite at Texas Tech. The over-under is set at 69. Let's get into it. Oregon's always fun to watch. I love them. I think Bo Nix really fits into their scheme well. You match that with those 2 running backs returning and killing the transfer portal last year. I mean, it almost overshadows them losing their whole O-line, right? They averaged 41.5 points game last year, while they allowed 25.5. Both of those are not including that 49-3 ass whooping they got from Georgia last year to start it. I expect them to replicate the numbers to last year to an extent. You know, maybe even do a little better on the defensive side. They hauled in a ton of transfers this year, so I think the defense is going to be a little better. On the other side of things is Texas Tech, and I believe they are a wild card, okay? I mean, they finished 8-5 last year. The kicker, though, is that they were 6-1 at home. Those 4 losses came on the road. They beat UT at home last year, as well as Kansas late in the season, right? Granted, they lost to Baylor 45-17 at home, but I don't think Tech is to be taken lightly at home. They lost a tough OT game to Wyoming away in week 1, all right? They had 430 yards of total offense, 340 of it coming through the air. Granted, they did allow mediocre Wyoming offense to rush for 171 yards and then pass for another 150. So, I mean, their offense is there, but their defense isn't, right? Granted, I think Wyoming is a little better this year. They still only scored 33 or more points twice last year against Tulsa and Northern Colorado. So, I don't think they're a very powerhouse offensive team. One thing I can guarantee for this one is the over's probably going to hit. I mean, 2 high-powered offenses is definitely going to be a shootout, right? It might come down to who gets the ball last. I'm not sure. Home field advantage is real, though, and Texas Tech loves to show out at home. So I wouldn't be surprised if they take this one in a close game, honestly. My final score is 41-38 Oregon, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tech runs away with it at the end. Safe bet, I'm going to go Tech plus 14.5, over 63.5 total. That's plus 105. Fun money bet is Tech plus 3.5, over 71.5, which is plus 340. I'd also bet Bo Nix to hit his over, and I'd also bet Tyler Show for Tech to hit his over as well, because it's going to be up there. All right, next on the docket, we got UCLA, who's a minus 14.5 favorite at San Diego State. The over-under set at 48.5. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. It's not very hard. UCLA isn't the team they were last year by any means, but they can still put up points. I'd be careful with the over-under here because UCLA can run away with this one. I'm going to go ahead and say final score UCLA 31-17. Safe bet would be UCLA minus 9.5 and the under 56.5. My fun money bet would be UCLA minus 13.5, under 49.5, and that's plus 255. Next, we got Arizona at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's a minus 8.5 favorite, and the over/under set at 60.5. Arizona's on the come up. I mean, let's be real. They've gotten better every year. I think this year, they're going to be the same. They're going to get better. They finished last year with a good win against the UCLA. They had some close games. I don't think they're top tier, given their defense has ranked in the bottom 5% of the league the last 5 years, but their offense is looking good. That Jaden Delora they got at quarterback, he threw for 3,600 yards last year. He had a 63% completion percentage. His problem was he averaged over an interception a game, so he's got to clean that up. But if he can make good choices, the offense is going to be trouble. Last year they averaged 30.8 points a game, while they allowed 36.5 points a game. They also got smacked at home 39-17 by Mississippi State last year, so keep that in mind. Their coach did say the main focus this year is to revamp the defense, get better. They might have made steps to that, but did they do that much, really? On the other side of this, we got Mississippi State. They're my sleeper pick for the SEC this year. They got Will Rogers back along with 10 other starters. Rogers is a good QB, right? The defense ranked in the top 5 of the SEC last year, too. They have plenty of weapons, and I believe Rogers can get them where they need to go. I do. Only problem is how well they can adjust to Zach Arnett's new schemes. Zach Arnett's changing the whole scheme. They were air raid. Now they're going more to a balanced style. But they look good week 1. I think they're going to be a team to beat. Overall, I think Arizona's good. I think they're getting better, but I just don't think they have what it takes to take down a tough state team in Starkville. I just don't. Starkville. Sorry. My final score is 38-24 Mississippi State. I believe they cover. Again, I would go 8.5 though. My safe bet would be State minus 5.5, Arizona under 27.5. That's plus 100. And my fun money bet would be State minus 9.5, State over 35, and over 55 total points. And that gets you at plus 185. And last up on the docket, we got Stanford at USC, minus 29.5 point favorites. The over-under is set at 70. You guys know USC is good, right? They got Caleb Williams returning Heisman, dude's a stud. He's thrown for over 300 yards both games since he's been back. 3+ touchdowns every game. I think it was 4 and 5, if I'm correct. I like Stanford's offense. USC has no defense. But if you're smart, you would know never to bet the USC to cover the spread because they have no defense. I will say bet the over, though, because they're going to put up 40 to 50 points, and Stanford's got to at least just put up 20 points and they'll cover. So I bet Stanford to score over 21 points. I would bet USC to score over 40. And, bet the over if you want. Bet Caleb Williams to hit his over. It's just going to be a lot of props. It's going to be a high score. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. This is my first time doing this one. I plan on releasing videos every week for all my picks. So let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your mom, tell your friends, hide your husband, hide your wife, whatever, all that stuff. I'm just here to have fun. I love football. I love college sports. I made decent money on it over the years. So my goal is just to spread that with you guys. So if there's any teams I didn't cover this week that you'd like insight on, just comment down below. Anybody you want me to cover for next week, comment that. Share me on Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, AOL, whatever you got. Let's get the name out there, huh? That's Dubs. I'm out. Peace.